Good day, class. So I am at the salon and we're going to be working on some color formulations. As you can see, this mannequin that I have here, I'm going to be doing some color and we're going to be going through this together. The first question that I have for you is, what do you think that this starting level for this mannequin is? It's very important for us to know what level we're starting off with when we're doing formulations. One of the other things we have to think about when we're talking about the leveling system, on every level, there's also underlying pigments, so contributing pigments. So you took a guess at what level this was at. Also, I want you to think about what are the underlying pigments. I do have a plan that I want to walk you through. Let's take a walk back into the color bar and see what colors we're working with. So the color brand that we're going to be working with today is called Wella. Starting off with some lightener to lighten certain areas of our final look, and the mixing ratio is 1:1. So essentially this means 1 equal parting of lightener to 1 equal parting of peroxide. In this case, I've used the Blondor product from Wella and 30 volume peroxide, mixing it very well to have a really good consistency, and make sure you always use measurements and you are very accurate with your mixing ratios. For this plan, I've decided to use diagonal back slices on one side of the head, back to back. This technique allows for a very bold appearance, and as you can see, there is no hair that's left out in between these foils. Now I've proceeded to the fringe area where I've customized some foils because the subsections I'm working with, the foils would have been too big for that section, so I cut them manually to make sure that I covered the whole fringe area, and I've done back-to-back foils with the same formula as well. While the foils are processing for their 45-minute limit, I'm moving on to the base color. I've decided to use a level 7, this is permanent color as well, with 30 volume, a level 7, which is a medium brown, and I've decided to use one with 7-1 that has a bit of an ash tone to it. So I'm going to be slightly cutting some of the warmth out in that final look of the base color. Always go back and read the manufacturer's instructions. This base color that I've used is the same mixing ratio, 1:1. So the amount that I've decided to use, you always have to make a good estimate because you don't want to waste product. The tube has 2 ounces. I've decided to use half of that, so that's 1 ounce, and that's going to be 1 ounce of peroxide as well for equal partings for our mixing ratio. Now our foils are continuing to process. Our base color is applied. We can see that one side we have our foils and our fringe we have our foils, and there is a circular subsection left out at the top, which I'm going to continue with some foils with the same 30 volume at the top. These foils are back to back at the top with lightener and 30 volume. One thing you want to be really mindful of is a really good estimation of how long your application will take. So in the top, I've applied 30 volume with lightener. One thing you always have to think about is how long do you think your application will take? So in a situation like this, I've used 30 volume and lightener at the bottom and 30 volume and lightener at the top. In many cases, especially if you're working with really long hair and you estimate that your time may take a bit longer, you would start off with a lower volume peroxide at the bottom and go low and slow and use a higher volume towards the top to make sure and even out the whole processing time. In this case, I've used the same level just because I figured I wouldn't take that long with this application because it was medium length hair. Always a good idea to periodically check your foils to make sure that the processing is going according to plan and that it's nice and even. In this case, I'm happy with the results and the processing time is completed, and I'm going to remove the foils and shampoo. Our highlights are rinsed out and we are completed with this portion. What level do you think that the hair has been lifted to? I'm going to proceed with a toner, which is an oxidative color, which I'm going to use with 10 volume peroxide. I'm going to apply it on wet hair for this case, just in the areas which are highlighted to cut out some of the warmth. I've used a level 8 and a natural ash. While that's processing, I've chosen to use a level 3, just a natural dark brown, just at the very root of the entire look. This is called a root tap. I'm just gonna slightly touch the roots just to make sure that we have a bit of a shadow root slightly. This time I'm using a demi-permanent color, and I'm using Color Touch by Wella as well. And this is a lower volume peroxide, and so this is called Developer. So as you can see, it's like a 6th volume. This is gonna be used with a different mixing ratio. So always remember to look at the manufacturer's instructions. This mixing ratio is going to be 2:1. Therefore, we're going to be using 1 portion of color and 2 portions of developer. As I mentioned before, I'm just using the Color Touch formula and just lightly touching and tapping the roots, as you can see. After application of this, I'm going to rinse and dry, take a good look at my results, and go in with a bit of fun using our semi-permanent color. So I'm going to be using yellow. The results aren't going to be very warm or very drastic with the yellow because my lift is not super high, but it's just subtle little areas that are going to bring a touch of warmth in some areas. And then the aqua greenish type color is a lot more heavily pigmented, and we're going to get something a little bit more vibrant with that. Now let's take a look. I obviously went in with a bit more precision cutting, but that will be for another video. Hope you enjoyed and you learned something today. Merci beaucoup.